Hey you guys, so thanks for tuning into my channel. I want to do a story time. This is true story, okay? I have a lot of true stories, but I'm going to take it back. This was one of the first experiences I had with I witnessed a gruesome incident, and I wanted to share it with you. So, huh? You're gonna have to put a trigger warning, by the way. What's that? That's when you go, oh, this content's very sensitive, so. Oh, okay, let me say. So let me warn you that this content is very sensitive. And if you don't like gory, gruesome type content, then you might want to go ahead and close out. Okay, you guys, just to give you a little background about myself, I am an Oklahoma girl. I was raised in California, but I was born in Tulsa, Oklahoma. My mom, she's from a little smaller town, East Oklahoma to be exact, and it's a little town called Muldrow. So I lived in Muldrow maybe like four or five good years of my childhood. Me and my sister, Yvette, we were on my grandmother's porch. And at the time, so just set the scene, there was a little town called Muldrow, Oklahoma. The town may have had maybe 1,500 people. The story reads like this. So 16 years ago, 5 Muldrow residents were slain during a night of terror that is deeply etched into memories of all its survivors. Yeah, I still remember that. I still remember this night clear as day. The bloody night was July the 2nd, 1974. Some of the victims were killed with an axe, some with a gun, and all with vicious intentions, I'm going to say. So most people only experience this type of viciousness by watching a horror movie or something like that, right? Like this is something straight out of a horror movie. So Wednesday, 16 years later, that night to be retold, this is the day when a preliminary hearing is to begin. So actually this was way more than 16 years ago. This is probably this happened in the 70s. So 41-year-old Luther Anderson, suspected of killing 5 people during a 6-hour rampage across town. Although initially charged with all 5 slayings, Luther Anderson still stood trial on only one, and that is of Clarence Duty. I remember that name too when I was a kid, because we lived right across the street from Mr. Clarence Duty. He was 52 years old. So he was found in his home with an axe in his skull. This man slayed Frank Mitchell, 34, George Armstrong, 42, Robert Hewitt, 76, and Hewitt's wife, Jessie, 70. So on that night, so earlier that day, I remember an ambulance came over there and the police had came to Clarence Duty's residence. So we used to call him Mr. Duty, actually, if I can remember well. And so, because there had been a dispute. They had got into some type of argument over a card game. So I can't remember. I think the police officer made Mr. Luther, well, I'm not going to call him Mr. He don't deserve that much respect. Luther Anderson, they made him leave the residence. I was just a kid, so I'm just remembering this. I still remember, it still looks clear as day, but I don't know all the details because I was a kid. So they made Luther Anderson leave the residence. So that following night, me and my sister was on the porch. And we were just singing and being silly. And one thing about Oklahoma nights, the sky is so clear. There's not a lot of night fog. You can see the stars. I still remember. And it'd be black. It'd be dark. The nights are really dark, but very warm. It was a warm summer night. So that following night, it was a very warm summer night. The sky was clear. The stars were shining, and me and my sister was being silly on the front porch of my grandmother's house. When we seen this guy, he had an axe and a gun in his hand. He had an axe in one hand and a gun in another. And we said, hey, and he stuck his tongue at us. This is true story. So we said hi to him, and he stuck his tongue. Well, we didn't know, just right across the street, diagonal from us, that he went inside the house and slain 5 people. He put an axe in their head. He shot some of the people. So there was 2 houses right next to each other. He went in both homes and he slain the residents. And then he went up to the rest home. We had just witnessed a man going to go murder. It's because my uncle, so my cousins came and got my uncle and said, come on. And they grabbed some guns and they went and looked in the cellar to see if Luther Anderson was hiding in our cellar. They slain 2 households full of people because of a card game that went bad. Look at me, you guys. Look at me. Come to find out, Luther Anderson went up to the rest home. My grandmother was in this rest home. Actually, she was my great-grandmother. And he sobbed on his grandmother's bed. He climbed in the bed with his grandmother. And from what I understand, his grandmother was in the same room as my great-grandmother. He climbed in the bed with his grandmother and he sobbed and he cried like a baby. And the police called him in the rest home, and that's how he got apprehended. The tragedy would happen, and I would never forget it. Also said that if you go and stay in, well, these homes are torn down now. They no longer exist. But when I was younger and other people moved inside those houses, they claimed that these houses were haunted. That the houses that Luther Anderson committed the murders at are haunted. But anyway, you guys, I just want to say thank you for tuning into my channel. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you have a gruesome story, please don't hesitate to share it. Leave it in the comment.